What up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo's retrospective review of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
And if you like what you see, bend our way and smash that subscribe button.
And while you're at it, share this video with all your friends. And if you'd like to be notified of our other videos...
My cabbages! This place is worse than Omashu!
And we're back with another review of some Avatar: The Last Airbender episodes. This time, we're going to be looking at The King of Omashu, and another episode came right after that, Imprisoned. So this one, they don't really have as much in common as the episodes that we were reviewing previously. When we were talking about, our previous episodes with the storm and everything like that, where we had a lot of similar story ideas. This one, the similarities are Aang getting a taste of the Earth Kingdom in its current state. So it's been a while. 112 years, since he's had a chance to go around the world and hang out with all those friends and go on his adventures as an air nomad and everything. And now he's excited to visit some of these places that he used to go to as a kid. And he's really, looking forward to showing Katara and Sokka. Seems to be a recurring theme, like when he was trying to do that with the Air Temple. But he's really excited to show Katara and Sokka some place that he's been to before and that he has fond memories of. So they're getting ready to go to what he refers to as the Earth Kingdom city of Omashu, which, if you guys are familiar with the Avatar, universe as a whole, so the Earth Kingdom is literally that. It's technically one giant kingdom with one king that supposedly rules all of that landmass. So if you guys remember the map that we see in the beginning of each episode, that huge chunk that sort of looks like Europe or something, that's the entire Earth Kingdom. And there's supposed to be one king that rules that. However, in this case with Omashu, they also have a king. So I'm not quite sure how their government system works, but I guess some cities are large enough that they also get a king. So like a king? I don't know.
A minor king?
A king, mayor king.
A mayor king, I like that. Like the McDonald land mayor. But he holds no real power because we all know Ronald is in charge.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. So Aang is like, getting ready to tell them, like, look, Omashu is like a super happy, friendly place. Everybody, gets along. And, Sokka and Katara, they're, I guess, more parental maybe. They're erring on the side of caution, and they're like, maybe you should still put on a disguise. We don't, we've already seen what happens when people recognize the Avatar. Maybe we need to be a little bit more careful this time around. So they go with an amazing disguise of Appa's fur on his face, which that was hilarious. But they're ready to go up to the gates of Omashu and, go into this friendly city. And we get introduced to my all-time favorite character. I want a series of nothing but this guy. The cabbage merchant getting ready to try and enter Omashu and sell his wares, his beautiful cabbages, and the guards turn him away. But they don't just turn him away. They smash a cabbage in front of him, and then they earthbend his cart off the side of the cliff with him screaming in dismay.
My cabbages!
Oh my
I love,
God,
too,
hilarious.
that when they're walking up, Aang's like, oh, man, they're so nice here. They're so great. There won't be any problems. And then they see this guy's cart get destroyed. And it's all about timing with this, I've noticed.
Yeah, and it's just funny. I was like, oh, my cabbages! And he's going to be a recurring character. But it's immediately after he says, these are the nicest people in the world. So I it's meant for kids. It's good stuff.
Yes. It's nice to have something a little bit lighthearted, after genocide. So we we get to see Aang put on this act of pretending to be an old man, and he uses the name, says my name is like Bonzu Pippin Pepin Scapulopoulos the Third, something like that. I probably said the name wrong. But what's hilarious, I think, what kind of made that joke even better, not the fact that Aang used such a ridiculously long name, was the fact that Katara, straight-faced, without missing a beat, repeats the same name right after him. But yeah, they pretend to be his grandkids. Now, what I think is kind of funny about this, and we're going to talk about it also in the next episode as well, they're talking about needing to disguise themselves, but I think it's funny how our water tribe members are all wearing their, warm clothes, and they're blue, and our airbender is wearing the obvious oranges and yellows that nobody else in the rest of the world wears. But yet this is their disguise, I guess, with a giant bison.
Yip, yip.
So they decide to enter Omashu, and right away Aang wants to get up to his antics, which is great. To me, this shows, first off, it just kind of goes to show he's still a kid, like what Keith and David said in the previous episode. He's still a kid. He has fun, and he's getting ready to share some of his memories of when he previously visited the city, and I think this is great. We get another chance to see another flashback of Aang in the past, hanging out with his friend Boomy, and he's talking about their mailing system where they ship packages using earthbending and these sort of like sliding carts and everything, but instead of using them for mail, Aang decides to show them how to ride in them like a roller coaster, and I think that's just hilarious. It's great. They're having a blast, but of course that gets them in trouble. And that's where we finally get to meet the King of Omashu, as the episode is named.
I love it when this king comes out. You can tell he's not the most serious person in the world, but he's clearly very old. We don't get to know how old until later in the episode, and we get to know he's a fun-loving king right off the spot. Because there's the guy with the cabbages. As they bring him in front of the king, here's the guy with the cabbages, and the guards are asking what to do. And he says, take their heads off, one for each cabbage. And then the king just says, throw them a feast. The guy's just off his rocker. It's awesome.
Oh, that's great. Yes.
Even though he does seem like he's off his rocker, but as he's having this feast with them, you can see everything he's saying is leading it down a certain path. He knows exactly who Aang is. And it seems like he's being very flippant and off the cuff, but he's leading him down a path. And, I thought it was very well done how they have this guy kind of being so carefree, like Aang's friend from way back in the day, but still he has certain kingly, how he holds himself in a certain way. He still has that. And he's smart enough to know who Aang is. And, he by the end of this episode, he's trying to teach Aang a lesson. And I really kind of liked how it led into that.
And clearly he's got reasons for doing what he's doing, but we don't need to know what they are. I mean, he's having fun, and we're having fun with him. And he said he just likes to mess with people. So, good for him. He makes it all, I don't know, I want to say, lighthearted, I guess.
I really like the challenges that he gives Aang. I think that's really ingenious. And yeah, absolutely. Keith is totally right. This guy is definitely wiser than what he's letting on. And there's definitely a reason, for all of this madness he's putting on. Like it's basically an act. And he's not actually meaning the group any harm, even though it kind of looks like it at first. You think, they're in danger. What's Aang going to do? He's got to get through all these challenges to save his friends because, by the way, they're trapped in creeping rock, I think he called it, or something like that. We'll find out what the deal is with that later because, of course, everything is ridiculous in this kingdom. But, I really love the idea that all of these challenges aren't straightforward. There's always some sort of other way around them where there's something unusual about them. And he's doing this on purpose in order to kind of clue Aang in on what's really going on.
You know what? When they did have that feast, I wanted to mention this is the first time that they have where the king makes a joke. And he says, "I hear the Kangaroo Island is really hopping," and then it's just in the background.
And that reoccurs episodes down the line. Anytime anyone makes a joke that doesn't hit, it's always silence. And I love that. It's same as the cabbage dude keeps coming up. You get the cough after you don't land a joke. It's great.
Yes.
It's kind of like, it's funny. It's like the writers are basically pointing out, like, look, we know this is a terrible joke. We're putting it in there anyway, but we're addressing the fact that we know it's not funny.
They're dad jokes. The ones that fall flat are the dad jokes.
Let us leave.
Right.
Let us leave. I wonder if that was a. I wonder if that was a piece of cabbage.
So what the three challenges that Doug was getting into, we got retrieve the lunchbox key from the waterfall, find Flopsy, which was probably my favorite, and the duel with the king, who turns out to be an earthbender.
Not just any earthbender. If you guys think back to the beginning of the episode, it turns out this is none other than Aang's friend Bumi, who, for an over 100-year-old dude, man, is this guy fit. Wow. Like, I love that, you know, like we pointed out early on, he's pretending to be this crippled, old, hunched back man. And it's funny that he's basically giving Aang this challenge, like, will you fight me or so-and-so? And Aang's like, oh, I'm going to take the easy way. I'm going to fight the old man. And he's like, oh, really? I'm the greatest earthbender around.
Bad choice.
Right.
I like two guys with like these big hatchets and they're all mean looking, and Aang's like, I'm gonna choose you. He's like, bad choice, and he rips his shirt off. I was like, oh, that's great.
I feel like he knew that Aang was gonna go that route, though.
He totally set him up. That was great.
But yeah, that's hilarious. I'm glad that you know, Aang got a chance to see one of his childhood friends. But I do find it interesting that Aang had to like freeze himself basically to still be alive at this point in time, and somehow I don't know what Bumi is doing to, you know, maybe a diet of cabbages in order to keep his his. I'm not sure what his workout plan is, but man, good for him. Still rocking.
At 112 years old, still pretty good shape.
And still, you know, his wits are all still there too. Well, most still there. I just wonder if he's still, you know, riding the mail chutes down like he did as a kid.
So I think that pretty much was the synopsis of the King of Omashu. Did we forget to mention anything of importance?
Just at the end there, when Bumi tells him that he has to master the 4 elements before he can defeat Lord Ozai.
And just that, you know, they were never in any real danger, and he just wanted to provide some illustration of the heavy role Aang has to now assume as the Avatar. And, you know, that it's kind of a common theme. You know, Aang is this carefree 12-year-old. He's got a heavy burden on his shoulder, and they don't overdo it. But they keep showing him lessons that, hey, you know, you have a certain responsibility, and, you know, you got to take some of it seriously, but don't change who you are. And I think that was kind of a theme of this episode, that, hey, you're a kid, we know, but hey, you got to take this serious also.
Oh yeah, for real. I mean, he's been missing for 100 years. A war has been raging, and it's supposed to be his duty as the Avatar to keep, you know, peace and harmony in, you know, among all the nations. Well, I guess 3 nations now. Sorry, rest in peace. So, yeah, it's hard to say, but yeah, he's got a lot on his plate. He's definitely got to learn the elements. I guess he's got airbending down, so there's a plus.
Yeah, so he really needs to learn 3, and he's practiced some water bending, so, you know, he's on his way.
Mm-hmm. So that takes us into our next episode, Imprisoned. And this is another chance to view like another sort of Earth Kingdom village, but this is totally different. So first we got to see the Kingdom of Omashu, or the Earth Kingdom city of Omashu, which is giant with buildings and, you know, mail delivery system and all this amazing stuff happening. But when we get to this, you know, little small village, it's actually been overrun by the Fire Nation. I mean, they have basically taken it over, and they are not only ruling over this town, but they're taxing all of its citizens, and they're locking up anybody who is an earthbender, which kind of takes us back to what Katara was talking about in her village when she was saying that there are no waterbenders because the Earth King or the Fire Nation, either we assume probably killed them all or they locked them all up, So
or they went off to
obviously,
battle.
oh well, yeah, that too. But yeah, I mean, it's basically saying that they know the Fire Nation kind of knows who their real enemies are, I guess, or who they need to be threatened by. Other than the Avatar, they know it's going to be other benders. It seems to be that that's the primary, I guess, ruling class of this world is if you have the ability to bend one of the elements, you're somebody to be reckoned with. We don't really see a whole lot of people who are, performing just martial arts or, using swords or spears or anything like that. And even if they did, it doesn't seem like they would really hold much of a candle to most of these other benders, at least not that we see yet.
Just like they addressed in the first show, all the water benders from their village were taken, so because they had that ability. And just like here, all the earthbenders from this town have been taken. Not necessarily killed, but maybe killed, but definitely not there anymore. And to be an earthbender now in this town that's run by the firebenders is basically a crime. So if you're caught doing that, that's why at the beginning of the episode when Haru is making, his earthbending, that's why he freaks out that she saw him.
Yeah, but you know what? I totally understand why Katara was the way that she was. If you think back to the very first episode, the idea that she was the only bender in her village and that she just wished that somebody would be there to teach her, to the point where when they, got Aang out of the iceberg, like one of the first things she asked him was, "Can you teach me how to waterbend?" Because nobody else could. And he's like, "Well, I wish I could. I'd love to, but I'm an airbender." So this is something that she really admires and takes, real seriously. And the idea of bending is something special and very important to her. And for somebody to have to do it in secret or in hiding, she feels almost like this is the worst thing ever. You should be proud of being a bender and you shouldn't have to hide that ability. And so with her, constantly pushing at him and nagging at him to, let him use his ability and oh my gosh, there's somebody in danger, but you could save him with your ability. And it's like, because this is such an important thing for her.
And then I just love the way they fake her being an earthbender once he gets arrested, and they're like, "Oh, okay, say the plan. You do airbending down the hole to bring the rock up." And we say, and like Aang's not paying attention, like,
Yeah.
I said,
It's not the lemur doing it, it's the girl.
Yeah, so this is like going back to like what we were talking about with the previous episode. They are almost making no effort to hide who they are. Okay, so these supposed earthbenders are wearing the blue regalia of the water tribe. Okay, that's believable. So it makes me wonder, like, how have the Fire Nation soldiers accomplished this much and taken over this much of the world? They can't tell. Like, everybody from each nation looks almost the same. Okay, that sounds wrong, but it is true. They all dress pretty much the same and look very much the same, depending on which area you're from. If you're from the Earth Kingdom or the Water Tribes or the Fire Nation or an air nomad, they all tended to dress very similar to each other. So when you see this, brother and sister walking up, and they clearly dress and look like they're from the Water Tribes, but they're earthbending.
I always assume they keep them in their normal clothes just so the audience can recognize who they are, because it is, we even see in like episode 20, I think, where they're like, "We got some fire soldier uniforms so they can sneak in," and Sokka's like, "They don't look like that anymore."
Oh yeah. Right.
How old are those? 85 years old.
Yeah. But so this one is I wish I could say that, more happened in this episode. There were a couple of good jokes, but it was a pretty straightforward episode. I don't really want to call any of these episodes filler episodes, but this one, I guess if you want to put that label on any of them, I guess this one would be kind of close to it. So the whole idea behind this is there's this, rundown Earth Kingdom village that the Fire Nation is in control of. They've got this prison, and what's kind of okay. So I'll mark this as like a foreshadow. So they've got all of these Earth Kingdom earthbenders. They're on this iron ship. They can't bend it. They can only bend rocks or earth. So they think, hint, hint, foreshadowing into the future. But yeah, so the Fire Nation really thinks that they've got them. There's nothing that they can do. They're basically stuck in this place, and they need to be motivated to use their abilities once Aang and Katara and them provide them with like rocks and coal to be able to do it. But I will say the one special part about this episode was one of the famous voice actors that we actually mentioned in our first review. We have George Takei himself playing. I think he's just referred to as the warden in the credits, but he's hilarious and he has some of the best jokes.
Oh yeah, when they get the coal up like you were talking about, and then they fly him out over the water. Wait, I can't swim. You'll figure it out.
As I was watching this, and this does feel like the most filler of the episodes, but it also, I think, is a very important, I'm assuming, down the line, because all of those earthbenders were just pretty tame on that ship, like, oh, don't rock the boat, don't do anything crazy. And, Katara is trying to lead up this rebellion. So I definitely think it's bringing back, and because they're going to need more than Aang at the end of this to fight the Fire Kingdom. So, as they're going around, sure, it may have seemed like a filler episode now, but I'm sure where it's going to pay off in later seasons when we see the Earth Kingdom and a lot of these earthbenders, maybe from this episode, helping in the fight against the Fire Nation.
Absolutely, yeah. And I will say that, another important character to keep in mind and, keep a lookout for is obviously Haru. So he seemed to be pretty important, and he was focused on pretty heavily in this episode. So I think we'll end up seeing him come back maybe almost as much as our cabbage merchant friend.
And then the episode ends with a very important part with Zuko finding Katara's lost necklace.
Yes, that will definitely come back to bite them later on. So yes, very important that he did find that. Again, Zuko, one-track mind. He's got his white whale trying to find the Avatar, got to restore his honor. So what did you guys think of these episodes? Maybe we'll start with the first one, the King of Omashu. Dave, what did you think?
Like we were saying, I don't think either of these two are one of the best episodes I've seen, but still, everything I've seen from the show has been very entertaining. So I would probably, if you're asking for a rating, I'd give it an 8.
For the 2 episodes together?
I would give them both an 8, I think.
Okay. And Keith?
Yeah, I liked them both. They both, after the couple first one started, this kind of came down a little bit. I mean, we still got, some really good character development with Aang in that first episode, when he's finding out, hey, you have a heavy burden here. And I thought they did a pretty good job of, teaching him that lesson. And then in the Imprisoned episode, everyone has been down for so long, and seeing the earthbenders kind of start to get some heart and fight back in them, was pretty good. But, it didn't really move the story too far along as some of the other episodes. I still liked it. I still enjoyed it, but it's definitely kind of, a seat back. I'm going to probably be with Dave, probably give it a solid 8, good episodes, but definitely, not amazing.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you guys. I enjoyed the fact that we did get another brief flashback, kind of showing us what Aang's past is like. I really liked the idea that we got to see him, having fun and trying to enjoy being a kid. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Keith. I also like at the same time, reminding us that Aang has a job to do. He kind of dropped the ball, unfortunately, when he, found out he was the Avatar and throws himself in that iceberg. But yeah, he's gotta restore peace and balance to the world, and he's got to do it relatively soon. He's got to get to learning those elements. But I think I'm going to do something a little bit different from the two of you. I'm going to actually rate these two episodes different. I will give the King of Omashu an 8 as well. I kind of agree with you guys on that point. It didn't really grow our characters too much more. As far as I can tell, they're kind of basically in the same area. They haven't really progressed that much. We did get a chance to, meet a couple of funny characters. I love Boomy. I love the Cabbage Merchant. I loved getting to see Aang pretend to be an old man. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, other than that, it was just your standard Avatar: The Last Airbender episode. But I think I'm going to give Imprisoned, I'm going to give that a 7 out of 10 because that one seemed like even more of a kind of a nothing burger episode than the King of Omashu. It didn't seem to me like as much. If anything, it felt almost like our characters took a bit of a step back with Katara knowing the kind of danger that that they're all in. But I mean, granted, I get that she's trying to build a revolution and she's very proud of bending abilities, but it seemed almost like she was putting people in unnecessary danger when they could have maybe thought this out a little bit better. And other than that, it didn't seem like much else happened other than, at the end, like what Keith mentioned with Zuko finding Katara's lost necklace. So any final thoughts, guys?
No, I mean, I think, like we said, they definitely, took a step down, but I think we're going to have some payoff from what we learned in these episodes later on. Maybe not even this season, but in seasons 2 and 3. I'm hoping, at least. It seems like that's how they sort of plan things out. So I'm hoping some of the things we learned from these 2 episodes pay off later in this series.
Yeah, and these 2 shows were a little bit slower, a little bit not as good as the other 2, the ones we've reviewed so far, but it's not in any way bad. So don't be thinking that.
No, this is definitely still a great series, and it really does only get better from here. So, hey, tell us what you guys thought. Let us know in the comments below. What did you guys think of these episodes? Was there anything that we missed? Anything, any sort of little Easter eggs that popped out? Are you pro-cabbages? Are you anti-cabbages? Either way, let us know. And keep a lookout for our next video.